everyone, welcome to the Art of Zenning. I'm very excited today to be bringing a topic that is very close to my heart, Patanjali Yoga, the science of the soul. Now, the seeds for this knowledge was planted in me by my dad when I was really little. He used to he was a seeker and he used to study all the different methods of spirituality and realizing your oneness with the whole of consciousness. I didn't pay any attention to these tools and techniques till about 10 years ago, when my life brought me a suffering that I was not able to understand, and my only option to get rid of it was to go in and work on my own self so I could get that glimpse, the satori. And I'm not an expert. This is a disclaimer. I am not an expert in Patanjali Yoga. I know nothing. I am a person who's just starting on my journey, but this is just talking about what my practice has been and how it has helped. Now, yoga found this basic thing that breathing is very powerful and is deeper than thinking. Yoga found this key that breathing is our key to change the climate inside of us. And once we find that key, it is up to us, right? So it depends on the way you breathe. Our life depends on how we breathe. So that was a very powerful nugget of knowledge that was given by Patanjali. Patanjali wrote 196 sutras, which are like discourses on yoga and Ayurveda. He also is the father of Ayurveda. So there were in Eastern traditions 5,000 years ago two ways to enter that super consciousness, two ways of self-realization or God realization. One was the method of surrender and the other was the method of effort. Tantra was the method of surrender. If you can surrender to what is, if you can surrender to whatever life brings and flow with life, no other method is necessary. But for most people, that seems too simple to be true, and they can't do that. That is the hardest part of their existence, to be able to surrender to everything. So Patanjali gave this other method, which is the method of effort. Yoga is the method of effort. There are like several techniques that lead you step by step to that abyss where you have to make that final plunge. In both surrender and yoga, you have to do it, right? You have to take that final plunge into the unknown at some point. It's just that in case of the effort, in the case of effort, you go do it step by step and it takes a long time. And in case of the method of surrender or samarpan, it has to happen first. You start with that surrender. Now, one of the sutras in yoga says that success is nearest to those whose efforts are intense and sincere. That is the method of the yoga. But success is also attained by those who surrender to the divine. That is the method of the surrender. Ultimately, what is the most important is to cultivate that viewpoint. Your viewpoint in life determines what your life would be. It brings you everything that you experience. Your viewpoint can be of two types. You can be a yes-sayer or you can be a naysayer, right? You say no to everything or you say yes to everything. The key to yoga is to be able to, realize that oneness is to be able to say yes to life. When you say yes to life, you're open to life and all the experiences in it brings. Doesn't mean things won't go wrong, doesn't mean someone would not deceive you. All that means is that in the midst of that chaos, you will realize that whatever comes is my spiritual work, is my work to evolve and get better. So no matter what comes, that is my technique, that is my alarm, that is my signal, that is my guru, that is my learning to evolve and get better. And that is what my realization was. Cultivating that attitude is the first step, right? So we traditionally think of yoga as all the asanas, right? The breath work that we do. And those are important. Those are very important to cultivate that healthy body that we need to practice self realization. But that is not everything. The key, the most important part of yoga is working on my mind, working on our mind so that we can silence it and realize who we really are, so that we can evolve. And just by that evolution, you don't have to go help anybody in the world. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be against anything. You don't have to fight anything. All you have to do is change your vibration. So you're vibrating at a higher level. You have that complete control over your mind, and how you react to things. And what that does is, by changing your own self, everybody around you is transformed. Everything you touch is transformed. Everywhere you are is transformed. So when I was little, my dad always used to say, if you change yourself, everything changes. And I absolutely hated it when he said that, because I was like, that person is nasty and that person said something to me. And how can just by changing myself, that person will change? But as I started practicing this path, this knowledge, I realized that that is the only thing that can bring about change in what you experience and others experience around you. That is the key to transforming the world. Now, there are four ingredients in this practice. This practice is of bringing your totality into it. And the four ingredients are, the first ingredient is Shraddha, which is trust. You have to have absolute trust in the divine timing and will, absolute trust that life brings you what you need to grow, absolute trust in other human beings, that they are perfect individuations of this whole consciousness, and you have to be neutral to everything that comes along, because you are the one who are assigning it a meaning. And when you have trust, you stop judging it and assigning it a meaning different than what it is. It is just a neutral piece of existence that you are assigning a meaning to, and now it becomes something different. Sometimes it becomes something very difficult. Sometimes it becomes something very joyful or pleasurable. And I'm not saying we don't experience all of those things. Life is all about, following your resonance, experiencing everything that you need to experience. But trust is the first ingredient that you have to develop, because when you have trust in everything that is happening around you, you say yes to life, and then you are open to whatever life brings. Again, it doesn't mean things would go wrong. It means just you are more grounded and stable. The second is virya, your total bioenergy. And that is why yoga has so much emphasis on all the asanas and the breath work, because when you are doing all of that, you're bringing your total energy into your practice of self realization. Now, we are giving away our energies all the time. We get this one email from our boss inquiring about a file, and we are, our all our energy is drained. Like, I already told him what was happening. Why is he asking me again? Or your kid, comes home and tells you he's had a bad day, and all your energy is drained. Or you have this argument with someone, and so we are giving away our energies all the time. And what yoga says is, it is our choice. We can choose to conserve that bioenergy so that we can use it for something that is more important. Again, ultimately, it's your choice. It is okay to do either or. But if you want to feel that sense of happiness, and if you want to raise your vibration from, being fearful and guilty and unhappy and depressed, to accepting and loving and peaceful, this is something that we all need to do. Yoga has simple practices of, like, closing, creating circles, or the mudras. What it does is, it helps you to bring your energy back, or, cleaning your chakras, which is making your energy flow smoothly and efficiently. So you're conserving your energy, you're not just leaking it everywhere. So that is the second ingredient. The third ingredient is the smriti, self remembrance. Who am I? The I am consciousness. Who am I is that individual consciousness that is part of the whole. Who am I is not just this body, and not just my mind. Who am I is something much bigger than that. So smriti is the self remembrance, and I can go on and on about this third ingredient, but I want to just give you a little bit of nuggets of this practice. And the fourth is the samadhi, which is the ultimate, the meditative consciousness, our, realizing our oneness with the whole. And all these ingredients, and it is a step-by-step process. That is why yoga is the path of the effort. If you're committed, if you want to work on it, step by step, we evolve. And and we don't even have to make that jump into the abyss. It just happens. Everything that we are not drops, and we realize that unity consciousness. Now, yoga is the progressive settling of the mind into silence. Yoga is the union of the body, mind, soul, and spirit, and the union of individual consciousness with universal consciousness. So, when we take all these steps, we follow the path of the Patanjali yoga, ultimately that is what happens. But it's not a goal, it's a journey, it's the destination. No matter what happens is perfect, because the divine doesn't judge anything as good and bad. Everything that happens is a perfect expression of the divine. Now, in yoga, they say alpha is the omega, right? The birth is the end, and the end is the birth, right? So the reason it is said that alpha is the omega is because that is the ultimate realization, that whenever something ends, something else begins. Whatever we perceive something else, it is also the opposite. When we are happy, sadness follows, right? Pleasure is always followed by pain. So these are the dualities that we live in. And yoga helps you go beyond that duality into the oneness consciousness. Now, in Sanskrit, there are two words for cause, right? As we go through life, we assign cause to everything. There are two words of cause in Sanskrit. One is the Karan, and one is the Nimit. Karan is the real cause, and Nimit is the unreal cause. Karan is the real cause, which is always you. Nimit is the unreal cause, which is always the other. So make it an absolute law that whenever something is wrong, immediately close your eyes and look for the real culprit. Once realized that this is you, your own negativity, your meaning to things and events, it falls by itself. And I have really worked on this powerful practice that whenever something happens that unsettles me, close your eyes and ask, who is it? What's the cause of this? We're so easy to assign that blame on someone else, but ultimately, my reaction to what is happening is the cause of it. So, the ultimate cause of everything is you. And who are you? The I am consciousness. So, is there something that can ever go wrong? And I know it sounds so, it sounds something that is not achievable, but I have had that glimpse and I have been working on it, and I know that it is not as difficult a practice. Even that part which tells us that this is so difficult to practice. How can I do that when somebody says something that is so offensive? But that is why this is the path of, it can take lifetimes, but it can also happen in an instant if we realize who we really are. Our only goal is to become what we want everybody else to become, because we cannot expect that from anybody else. If you expect everybody else to be always compassionate, empathetic, loving, we have to become that. And that becoming is our only purpose in life. But to know that you already are that is that glimpse, is that realization. There is no need to go on those battles that we are having, our battle against poverty, our battle against, whatever you believe in. Because if say each of us had that realization, when the vibration of our whole society raised to that level, we just have to drop out of the investments of this society. We don't have to fight against anything, and things automatically change. So yoga talks about suffering, just like in Buddhism. There is a lot of talk about suffering. Yoga also talks about 4 reasons why we suffer. The first is we forget who we really are. We're not this body, we're not this mind. We are that individuation of the whole that is perfect, just as we are. The second is we live from our ego, right? The other is responsible. The ego comes in as soon as something happens to give that blame to somebody else. The third is we cling to pleasure and pain. We even cling to our pain, right? We say that why is it so yoga says drop both the positive and the negative. But we haven't even been able to drop our negativity. We're even clinging to our own negativity. So that is, we're carrying rubbish and we refuse to drop it. How will we drop our pleasures? We're so clinging to everything. And our last part is we fear that we're here for it, we're so temporary. We fear death. We fear the annihilation of all that we are. And that fear is the center of so much wrong. I wouldn't even say wrong, so much diversity, so much contrast that happens. Becoming is a dream. Becoming is a dream. You already are perfect as you are. Imperfections appear because we are fast asleep. Surrender and start celebrating. What we say is make that dropping of the good and the bad effortless. So in yoga, it talks about heaven, hell, and moksha. So heaven is our positivity in its perfection. Hell is negativity in its perfection. And moksha is our liberation from both. It doesn't matter what is. It is. And is divine and is perfect. and you already are where you need to be. That is a very um, that is a very powerful knowledge. Now, yoga, I am looking for the sutra to read it exactly. Now, yoga has this sutra that is the technique, cultivating the right attitude. So I'll read that, and then I will kind of explain it. The mind becomes tranquil by cultivating attitudes. Now, when yoga tells you why you need to do what you need to do, why you need to go on this path of self-realization to eliminate that suffering, right? And to find that ultimate liberation from pleasure or pain. And then it gives you some techniques, and this sutra is the technique, and I'm going to read that, and then we can talk about it step by step. So first technique is, mind becomes tranquil by cultivating attitudes of friendliness towards the happy, compassion towards the miserable, joy towards the virtuous, and indifference towards the evil. When I started this practice, it changed me completely. It changed the essence of who I was. Now, first is friendliness to the happy. What we do is, when somebody is happy, we feel jealous, right? We feel like that person, we feel like happiness is limited, and that person has got a portion of that happiness that belonged to us, or has taken away from us. But that is just our mind playing its tricks, our ego fooling us, because happiness is unlimited. And by sharing in somebody's happiness, you become a part of it. You become open to receive that happiness. So it's the first is, when somebody is happy, be friendly to that person, that happiness, and partake in that happiness. Feel that happiness, share it. The second is compassion towards the miserable. We do the opposite. When somebody is happy, we feel unhappy. When somebody is unhappy, we feel happy. What we are doing is, we are multiplying our own misery. When somebody is miserable, you don't have to be friendly with that misery. You don't have to bring your vibration down to vibrate with that misery. Yes, that person said something to you. I understand how you feel. I'm really sorry for you. You're bringing your own vibration down to become friendly to that misery. All you have to do is show compassion to misery. There's no reason to be friendly to the misery. You can just help that person, come out of his misery. You can hold his hand and help him get up, bring his vibration up. Don't let your vibration go down, right? So be friendly to happy, be compassionate to misery, be joyful to the virtuous. Anybody, even if somebody claims I'm this virtuous, what we do, we condemn it. It's so easy. So everything good that happens, there are more people condemning it, because we can't believe that there could be that much virtue in the world. But there is. When we see virtuousness, we have to feel joyful, because in feeling joyful, we attract it to ourselves. We attract that abundance of that virtue to our own selves. And it transforms not only you, everybody else around you. We're not scared to be virtuous anymore. We're not scared to tell what we're good at. We're not scared to compliment others. We're not scared to rejoice when others achieve something or do something. We celebrate in that joy, and in that celebration, we become a part of it. And the last is indifference to the evil. That is a really important thing to do, especially in our world today, where we are bombarded by all this media hype about negativity and all the things going wrong. We have to stay indifferent to the evil, because, and that indifference doesn't mean that you think you're affected by it, but you're saying I don't care. That indifference doesn't mean apathy. That indifference means that it is like it's not happening. You give no energy, no you don't observe it, you give no energy to it, you're not affected by it. It is the effortless surrender to the knowing that whatever that evil is, that is a contract between that evil and the divine, and you don't have to do anything about it. That doesn't mean you won't take action. That doesn't mean you don't do what you're passionate about. All it means is you will do whatever you do from your groundedness, from your centeredness, not your resistance to something that you perceive as wrong, as evil, as against your essence, your values, right? Again, it is that acceptance, offering no resistance to what is, and coming that place from centeredness. Now, what if I can't do all of this? What I can't be happy, friendly when somebody's happy? What if I can't show compassion to misery? What if I can't, be joyful to the virtuous? What if I can't feel indifferent to the evil? Yoga gives you a technique there too. And that technique is following your breath. As soon as something takes you off your center, you have been given a very simple rule of your breath. Our breath changes when we are angry, when we are unsettled. All we have to do is to get that rhythm back. Breathe out deeply, pause, breathe in, pause. Breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause. What it does is it changes your biochemistry. It distracts you from all the meaning that you're assigning in your mind to things, which is just an appearance, just temporary, not really that powerful to really affect you, but you're letting yourself being affected. So if you do that breath work, so yoga gives you that technique. The mind also becomes tranquil by alternating, expelling, and retaining the breath. Once you start to do some breath work, the next step comes, which is meditation. When meditation produces extraordinary sense perception, the mind gains confidence. So when you do the breath work, and you can start it in any ways, you start to take your steps towards meditation. Meditation is letting go of that mind, letting go of that identification with your mind. And it can have many different steps like concentration, contemplation, or meditation. So when you start meditating, that is letting go of your mind, not identifying with it, realizing that all that appears is just a temporary appearance and is not, and I'm not affected by what that is, because my feelings and my emotions are just a creation of this mind, and this I am consciousness is powerful enough to control it. Then you start to having those extraordinary sense perceptions. You start to become more confident. You start to develop that perseverance. You start to become serene and grounded. And a lot of people talk about developing all these superpowers and being able to do magic. That happens, and I'm not saying you have to do that. All you have to do is realize who I really am. I am that part of the divine, perfect, absolute, right here, right now. Nothing needs to be done. And to go back to that knowledge from time to time when things unsettle you, because everything will pass. Whatever you see will pass. So will this body. There's another technique that yoga talks about. So what yoga says is when you are meditating, you go inside, you start by seeing the darkness inside of you, right? And soon that darkness turns to light. You find that light of the divine that makes you alive, that makes you go, that makes this universe around you happen. But there's another way to do it too, right? And that is the way of devotion, the prayer. And yoga talks about that too, that there's nothing wrong with. So if you can have that devotion, that bhakti, that prayer to somebody, to a divine master, to an enlightened master who has gone before you, that is why there are all these religions, because that is why people, pray to Jesus or Krishna or, Buddha, because they ask for this guidance from the divine masters who have already had this realization and who can be that compassionate person who can hold your hand and bring you out of your misery. So that is a path too that yoga offers, the path of the prayer, the devotion, the bhakti. And all these techniques, right, they lead you to letting go of all identifications, letting go of all meaning that you assign to things. And it helps you silence your mind. So you are settled into that whole consciousness. You realize your oneness with everything and everyone. And again, I'm telling you not because I know anything. I know nothing. I have just started my journey, but I have had the glimpse, and I'm telling you, even that glimpse changes your life. I'm not going to, I think I've spoken too much. I can't in this video talk about other sutras of yoga. The only thing I could talk about today is cultivating our attitudes. But I want to end it by a short meditation that helps you ground itself. Yoga talks about this one universal sound, the Om. So I'm just going to end it by a couple of Oms. And you can continue to do that on your own if you want to. I like to close my hands when I do that, just to circulate my energy through my body, and hopefully have all my chakras balanced. And then we'll end this video. I love you all, and thank you for allowing me to share what I feel compelled to share by this universe. I'm just following that guidance. Breathe out. And pause. And let everything be surrendered to the divine. Breathe in. And realize that your breath is your bridge to the divine. And you're connected. You are one. And meditate on that sound for as long as you want. And know that you're always meditating. Make your meditation more conscious. Choose what you meditate on. Namaste.